Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to discuss a new legislation that was recently passed in New York City regarding Airbnb. Now, Airbnb has been a way for many homeowners to earn extra cash on the side by paying their mortgage and paying some bills. In many ways, it is a small business for a lot of homeowners. However, a lot of critics, especially from the hotel industry, criticize Airbnb for taking away business away from the hotel industry. And also local politicians are blaming Airbnb for taking much needed affordable apartments off the market by reserving them for Airbnb and renting them out on a short-term basis as opposed to long leases. Today we're going to take a look at an article from the New York Times. Let's get into it. New York City facing housing crisis, target owners of illegal Airbnbs. New legislation will require hosts of short-term rentals to register with the city. The latest move in a long battle between New York and the rental companies. So here you go right there, there's the posters. There were 37,700 Airbnb listings in New York City at the beginning of November 2021, according to a data tracking website. Airbnb recently announced that it had its best quarter ever, reflecting a surging thirst for travel and tourism as the pandemic grips loosen. But in New York City, the company is at the center of a very different narrative. City leaders, after fighting for years to limit the proliferation of illegal short-term rentals, are poised to impose more stringent restrictions on the online platform. The City Council on Thursday approved a bill that would, for the first time, require hosts to register with the city before renting out their homes on a short-term basis or for less than 30 days. The measure mirrors regulations in other cities like Boston and Santa Monica, California. So this is what I said in the beginning of this video. So politicians feel that Airbnb is basically causing is causing shortages in housing, so which is causing rents to go up, causing rents to increase, and also causing a lot of disruption in the rental market. All right, let's continue. In New York City, one of Airbnb's biggest domestic market, city officials and housing advocates have long complained that landlords and tenants have exacerbated the housing crisis by circumventing laws and setting aside homes to rent out for a few days at a time to tourists and other visitors. Short-term rentals are often more lucrative than long-term leases, and the hotel industry, which has been decimated by the pandemic, has long complained about Airbnb and similar online rental companies, accusing them of siphoning away business. So basically what it sounds like to me is that the hotel industry does not want any competition. They want to maintain a monopoly. It almost kind of sounds like the yellow cab and Lyft and Uber. So basically the yellow cab industry had a monopoly. Uber came in and Lyft and presented competition. Obviously the unions and the drivers were not happy about that. So I think that is healthy in a capitalist society. If we're truly in a capitalist society, competition can be a good thing. But we see the hotel industry and the hotel lobby are not happy about competition. All right, let's continue. That violate those laws, including a New York state law that largely bars apartment rentals for less than 30 days when the host is not present from even appearing online. Supporters said the new restrictions would lead to the gradual removal of thousands of listings for such illegal rentals from short-term rental websites. We don't have enough housing, and anything we can do to put housing back on the market is a good thing, said Councilman Ben Callos, a Democrat who represents the Upper East Side and was a sponsor of the bill. So there it is right there. So I think the whole goal of this law, if not to just basically limit Airbnb altogether. So let's continue. We think this will be the most effective way to get rid of illegal hotel activity, said Mr. McKee, who is also part of Tenants Pact, an advocacy group that helped write this bill. It may take 2 to 3 years, but eventually this is going to make it virtually impossible for bad actor landlords to convert what should be residential apartment into exactly what is a bad actor landlord? So there you have it. There are already certain rules and restrictions in place as to which places, which apartments can be Airbnb and which ones cannot be. A a 6-family building or more, it is not permitted to have Airbnb in those types of buildings. I think what the issue probably the city's having mostly is being able to enforce these rules, these laws, and say larger buildings. And yeah, there are in some instances you have some buildings, let's say a rent stabilized building, and some of the tenants in those buildings are Airbnb some of the apartments illegally. So yes, you do have some of that happening. You do have some abuses in the system in that way. And the city's trying to find a way to basically limit those instances and limit those types of short-term rentals from happening. All right, let's continue. The debate over the bill highlights the tension between two forces playing out in New York. On the one hand, the city is a top destination for domestic and global travelers, and tourism has become a key pillar of the local economy, which has been battered by the pandemic. On the other, a severe housing crisis means there is shortage of homes available to residents, driving up rents. Right, so exactly. So I mentioned earlier, so anytime you have, I mean, this is just basic economics, right? So anytime you have a shortage of anything, whenever the supply is low and the demand is high, you're going to have a price increase. I mean, that's just basic economics 101. And so I think also some of the problem is that if New York City is having some housing crisis, I think that they should allow builders to build more. That's how you combat that, right? So if you have low inventory, high demand, the prices are going to go up. But if you match inventory with demand, then the prices will level off. You will create competition in the system. So landlords that want to raise rents to outrageous prices, they're going to have to be forced to come down because people are not going to rent them because there are available apartments. There are more available apartments. So the city should build more affordable housing units. And I believe that they're doing some of that in some parts of the city. All right, let's continue. In some cases, Airbnb has partnered with cities. In Portland, Oregon, city officials and the company announced in 2019, after years of back and forth, that Airbnb was going to build a registration system into its website and share data on listings with the city every month. The bill passed by New York City is modeled after a regulation in Santa Monica that led to a lawsuit from online home rental sites, which was ultimately rejected by a federal appeals court. That hosts do in fact register their homes with local governments has proved challenging in other communities. Had been designed to ensure compliance because it requires online rental platforms like Airbnb to verify that a listing has been properly registered with the city before the platform can collect any fees. Fines for hosts who fail to abide by the rule will be up to $5,000, and platforms like Airbnb would be fined $1,500 for every illegal transaction. So critics of this bill have a problem with this bill. So basically this bill, I think they need to iron it out a little bit more and be a little bit more specific, because it's not saying exactly who can host Airbnb, exactly what is this registration fee going to be, and who can host. So I think there's some iron out to be done there. I was able to look up the Airbnb restrictions and city in Massachusetts and Boston specifically. So basically the way it works over there, what they've implemented in that city is that one, you have to register, you must register. Also, you must live in the unit that you're renting. Either it is your primary home or you live adjacent in an adjacent apartment inside the same building. So basically, if it's a 2-family, 3-family home, you need to live, your primary residence must be there in that building as well. So let's continue. It's not clear exactly how many of the listings in New York City are illegal, and the effectiveness of the new bill will depend in part on how well the city enforces it once it is signed into law. In places like Santa Monica, Boston, and San Francisco, data has shown a modest to significant decrease in the number of listings after a registration system went into place. Right, so basically, exactly. So 37,000 units, Airbnb units in New York City. I think that might get slashed in probably in half once this law gets implemented. So basically this law was passed in December of 2021. They are looking to implement it in December of 2022. So there are clear guidelines and kinks that need to be worked out, but by December of 2022 this year, this new law will go into place. All right. Advertising short-term rentals for entire homes or apartments in the city, suggesting a host may not be present. Supporters of the bill estimate that up to roughly 19,000 Airbnb listings could be illegal and eventually delisted. But Stephen Smith, a co-founder of Quintiera, a real estate firm, questioned how much of an impact the measure would have, saying that many illegal listings have already been delisted. And he added, even if the estimates were accurate, it would not do enough to stem the city's housing crisis. These politicians seem to think that this is going to do something for affordability, and in fact is likely to do very little, he said. Now, I tend to agree with this, with the critics. So I guess we have to wait and see. We need to see exactly what are some of the what the guidelines are, and exactly how this city is going to implement this. The combination of the bill, along with another city initiative to curb new hotel development, could greatly reduce the number of affordable places visitors to the city can stay, Mr. Smith said. If you really make it difficult enough for people to come to New York, they're going to stop coming to New York. So there you have it, guys. So this is very interesting, man. I mean, the city have new laws to prevent new hotels from being built. At the same time, they're also attacking Airbnb. I mean, I've stayed at Airbnbs. Honestly, me personally, I would prefer to stay at Airbnb than stay in a hotel. I love the feel of possibly staying in a home or staying in a place where you can cook. There's a kitchen. There's like, you know, it feels like a home. I think most people would rather stay in Airbnb than stay in a hotel. Also, too, like the cost factor of it as well, too, is a lot cheaper to stay at Airbnb than you would in a hotel. So with the city limiting hotel building and also limiting Airbnb, it's interesting to see what's going to happen there. I personally don't think that is going to do any difference. I don't think it's going to make a big dent on as far as apartment or rent affordability. In fact, I think that it may even cause it to even be higher. It's also now what you're gonna cause the same problem in the hotel industry as you potentially causing in the rental industry, and it's not gonna help. So basically, it's gonna cost that much more for people to come to the city. Hotels gonna be that much more expensive because you're gonna have a shorter amount of hotel rooms or places for people to stay, while the city's trying to bounce back and an influx of people coming in and moving into the city. So let me know what you think. Do you think that limiting Airbnbs is going to help with the price of rents going up? Or do you think it's not gonna make a difference at all? So please, if you guys enjoy this material, if you enjoy this content, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment in the section below. I'll see you soon.